Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the New to Wrestling podcast, After Dark. I am so excited for this, and I'm just going to warn you all preemptively, it's probably going to be a long one
You're not
because
wrong. You're not wrong.
tonight we are talking about Sting. I am too hype about this.
No, I
Too
think
hype
you're
about this.
just the right amount of hype.
Okay, God bless. Safe space.
Mhm.
The way, because Xavier, if you're new here, if you're new to the show, welcome. I'm new, but to wrestling. So this is like kind of my first real dive into Sting, and Xavier's been a lifelong fan of
Oh,
Sting.
love
And
Sting.
the way I immediately matched Xavier's freak and how much I love Sting from like minimal exposure.
Listen,
Minimal.
you don't need much. You really don't. The man is just such a legend. Such a legend.
I mean, there's so many things I want to talk about because we watched Sting Into the Light documentary on Peacock, which documentary I'm gonna say is a strong word for what this was. I'm not
Right.
upset about what this was, but as you guys know, if you're not new to the show, I always want more.
Right.
I always want more tea, I always want more context, I always want to know more.
Mhm.
And there were so many things I think they could have discussed in this that they didn't. And Xavier brought up a good point. There's probably a good reason for that, which we can get into.
Mhm.
But yeah, we watched Sing Into the Light documentary from 2014. Truly delightful. I'm really excited to get into this. But yeah, like Sting, an icon, a legend. I feel like more people should just be stopping me on the street and telling me about him. I don't
I
know.
I
I just feel
agree.
like,
No, 100%. The
and
man,
yeah.
such a career. And
I mean,
like,
it's
and the
crazy.
thing
It's
is, like, this documentary doesn't even like capture all of it at
not
all.
even close. Like I'm actually, I now I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole on the internet. I already like had to restrain myself last night from doing it because like I just feel like there's so many more things to be discussed about him. And Xavier also brought up a good point when we were talking before. We try not to, but I really was like, I have so many things to say.
Hmm.
It could be by choice that he chose not to disclose a lot of things about his personal life, like for the documentary, or it could not have been. We do not know. But I mean, I would love to see more. But
Correct.
for now,
I'm with you on that one.
yes, for now, we'll get into what we do have, and that is this 55-minute documentary on Peacock. So like I said, it was from 2014, and it opens with him heading to WWE headquarters that's in Connecticut for the very first time. So
Hmm.
Sting, at this point in his life, is older. We like
Correct.
just watched his retirement match, which we will probably do an episode on, so look forward to that. But he had never in his long, amazing, illustrious career in wrestling ever even been to WWE headquarters at
Right.
this time, which is crazy and also kind of a serve.
Yeah, he was up to this point, like really made it a point to just be like, not for me. No, thank you. Like,
And I love that.
right.
I
Hmm.
kind of think I think that is such a serve, honestly, to be like, I have this huge career in wrestling and it had nothing to do with WWE. I don't want to say
Correct.
nothing, but like
Right.
because
Very little.
if like he's here, like WWE is influencing from here just by circumstance because of
Right.
him being in WCW. Like there was an influence, but it wasn't like I became a star because of
Correct.
WWE.
Yeah,
And
correct.
that is iconic.
And to be like, not just like have a career outside of WWE, but to have like a career as prominent as he does outside of the WWE is
That's
like
what I'm saying.
unheard of, really. Um, because especially considering like there was a point in time where it was like WWE or like
Or
nothing.
bust. Yeah.
Um, to kind of go and like just be like, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna do my own path. I and the decisions he made like throughout his whole career just like are not the typical like story you hear out of wrestlers. It's not it,
Yeah.
I no, I actually wasn't willing to sacrifice my everything to do this. um
Yeah.
so and that's okay too, and there is a way to do that,
And
like.
there is like a beautiful career to be had for you.
Hmm.
At least, and especially then that was like I feel like so unheard of, especially in the other documentaries we watch where it's like when WCW was purchased by WWE and ECW was gone, and it was like this mad scramble to try and get into WWE because there was dozens of wrestlers who suddenly had no job, but
Right.
these like amazing, and he was just like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. And we'll get into that too because he talks a little bit about when WWE purchased WCW,
Hmm.
like briefly. But I mean, he was just like, I'm good.
Right.
That's fine.
Hmm.
And like, I just think that's awesome.
Right. No,
Love
I
that.
agree.
Um, so from the 1990 to 1992, he says he was the face of WCW, which is very true. And I mean, I would argue he was a bigger presence like throughout the entirety of WCW,
Hmm.
regardless of
Right.
being whatever the face or the champion or whatever. He had a huge impact on WCW that's undeniable. He does his own face paint.
Yes. Yes, he
I
does.
I said one-handed in the worst lighting you've ever seen.
Yep.
Worst lighting you've ever seen, him in a brush, just and quick,
Hmm.
quick. I could never. I was like, I really realize I have no talent, and that's okay.
Oh
I'm
my God.
that's okay. I'm still alive. It's okay. But like he just it's so precise. It's so incredible. It's immaculate, and it's like the
Hmm.
lines are clean. Everything. And it's like paint. It's like legit paint. I don't even think it's like face paint. It's like
Paint,
paint.
paint. Yeah.
It's paint, paint. Like it's crazy. Just one brush, done.
Hmm.
An
What a guy.
artist. He should get into actual painting, like canvases and things, if he hasn't
Ooh.
already, because that would be. I feel like he would enjoy that and be very good at it.
Maybe in his retirement, maybe he'll pick it up.
I would love it if he did that. I mean, the fact that he just that it's so good. And he just watching the one clip of it, it just blew my mind. I'm sorry. Again, in the worst, most horrible, dingy bathroom lighting you've ever seen, and it's
Hmm.
flawless.
Just
Um,
that's from years of doing that. Just years and
years,
years
years.
of
But they
having to
even,
get ready in like every scenario, I'm
yeah,
sure.
like in the reflection of a sink because there's not even a mirror. Like,
Hmm.
and he's just, I mean, trial by fire. It's so
Hmm.
good.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but he didn't know what wrestling. He did not know what pro wrestling was when he was growing up. He was like, I truly did not have it on TV. I didn't know anything about it. I played basketball. He goes, and he was there. I was a 6 foot whatever going nowhere with my basketball career. It was terrible. He was like looking through pictures of himself when he was younger.
Hmm.
And he said, but basketball, the moves he learned in basketball helped him adapt to wrestling eventually. Like, especially we were talking before, like he has mad hops,
Hmm.
mad hops. He gets air for a big man. Like
Yeah.
he really is like a spring.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
It's wild. I will say too, this is the first time I've ever heard Sting actually speak
Love that.
because I've only ever known him from AEW when he
Right.
did his stint at AEW, which was also amazing.
And in
Um,
AEW, it really wasn't like he, Sting was like there and he was like teaming with Darby, but like Darby's the one that's going to stick around for, like years to come.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
Darby that was the like focal point of most of those kind of like promos and things. Like Sting had,
Yeah.
had promos where he spoke and like did speak in some of the like vignette, like little mini movies that Darby likes to make. But he wasn't the focal point in AEW. As you know, at that point in his career, he nor did I really think he wanted to be. So,
Yeah, no, it made complete sense. That makes complete sense to me. And I love that he was willing to do that, like
mhm,
to be that person. And I feel like that link up was perfect. Like the
mhm.
marrying of those two as like
And they're like,
perfect link up.
I have a interestingly enough, I have a like a Thrasher magazine that had like an interview with
Oh
Darby Allin,
yeah.
and he talks about like his relation. He's like, no, like we're like friends. Like he is somebody I like trust and confide in, and like for some reason, like we just like clicked. Like it
Yeah.
just made sense. And I loved that pairing. I thought it was great. I love Darby Allin. I
Love.
love Sting.
Love
So to
Sting.
have like one of my favorite like new wrestlers be like kind of under the like learning tree of one of my favorite all-time wrestlers, it was just watching the two of them in AEW, amazing. Love to see it.
I thought about you so much watching this documentary because the thrill that I felt watching like certain things happen and then knowing you witness them in real time and like as a lifelong fan how it must have made you feel like I just really
Ugh,
I actually
I
like I really want to get into that when we talk about the
sure.
when he enters WWE because like I
Hmm.
literally I thought about you so much because I know you were such a big fan and I was like, God, I can't imagine this feeling. Like that is
Yes.
crazy. Like I feel feral and I'm watching this in my bedroom at 3 in the morning.
Hmm.
Like I being
Right.
there in real time or like experiencing it in real time, so insane. Um, but he was inspired to do bodybuilding from Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Hmm.
Um
Many people were.
and
He was like
many people
the
were.
guy.
I mean,
Yeah.
it blows my mind that that was such a thing because I obviously we were too young, missed that wave, like that
Right.
he was
Right.
like
Right.
an icon, and I was like, I don't know, that's just that guy. But not that
Right.
he's
Right.
just that
He's the
guy, but it
Terminator. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, like I missed the bodybuilding wave where he was like an actual like he was an icon like physically.
No, 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 no. We got
Um
like Terminator, kindergarten cop, governor of California.
like that yes, streamlined, like so bizarre.
Hmm.
But bodybuilding led him to wrestling, and he started in championship wrestling as a tag team, the Freedom Fighters, with Jim Hellwig, right? That's how I like
Yes. So
scribbled Jim
he,
Hellwig, yes, who is
yeah,
Ultimate Warrior.
correct, correct, correct.
That blew my freaking mind,
Mhm, mhm, mhm. They, yeah, they came up together. They started at the same time. So,
which is crazy.
yeah,
I
what a team, like, and what careers they had, like, separately. But
separately,
like, just to see them, like, just so like baby a face, like, is crazy.
yeah, because if you are again not new to the show, you know my reaction to Ultimate Warrior, even though it was like the first time I saw him and like the last time we ever saw him on the show again.
Yeah,
I was like, what is this? I literally had such a bad reaction to Ultimate Warrior, and I was like
yeah,
seeing him
yeah,
as a
yeah, yeah.
baby face. I was like, or when he was
That is
baby
so
face,
funny. I forgot that the only time we saw him was his last appearance in the
his last appearance,
WWF.
and that was the first time. And if you go back, I feel like I ripped him to shreds.
You definitely did, and I
I for sure did.
absolutely helped. So
Yeah, yeah,
like,
you definitely were there. Like,
I'm also not a big Ultimate Warrior fan. Well,
he's on
in
my gig.
for
Yeah,
me it was like, so they both started out like just not great wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like just
yeah.
very green, very just like all muscle, like all show, no like technique.
Mm-hmm.
Um whereas for me, I felt like Sting was like, "Oh no, like let me fix that." And, put in the work.
Uh,
Whereas Ultimate Warrior, I feel like just kind of like felt like he was fine as he was. You know what I
he
mean?
was
Like
the
I feel like he
ultimate
never
warrior.
never like increased his like technical skill level because he felt like he never really had to.
That,
Because he
yeah,
almost immediately because of his um like look, like kind of got like a lot of success in wrestling. So
yeah,
and when you're that successful that early on, sometimes you lose the motivation to like get better
yeah. If
because
the
you
formula's
why would
working, if it ain't
you
broke, don't fix it.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
I mean,
that's why I got like with the Ultimate Warrior, just because it's like it's hard to watch some of those Ultimate Warrior matches, really.
oh God, the little
Mm.
jog in place, I'll never forget it.
No, you
I'll
will
never
not.
forget. No, I will not. Yeah, so that really blew my mind. But they said, so we would just get in the ring and we would just stand there and laugh because we didn't have really any moves to do.
Right.
That's what Ultimate Warrior said. He was like, we didn't really know what we were doing. And that was like kind of the theme, like a lot of people said, like I think JR said at one point, like they had the physicality, but they had really no wrestling acumen. So he was like, once they do that, like then they'll really be
Right.
like cooking with gas. Um, but they randomly changed their look. Again, this is like where they kind of like skip through a lot of things where I would have loved to dive into, like how
Hmm.
that you go from bodybuilding to wrestling, how you decide to change your look, even like I would have loved to have
Yeah, a lot
gone
of
more into that.
times like the bodybuilding to like wrestling pipeline is really just like a um somebody who's a wrestler that used to be a bodybuilder, or you go to the same gym a lot. That happened. And
Yeah.
they like would get spotted and be like, hey, like, have you ever tried blah blah blah? And like, so that happens a lot. But especially in like the 80s, the like bodybuilder to wrestler pipeline was strong.
Oh yeah, because it was just like big. Are you a big man? You should do it faster in a square.
Right.
Like
100%.
you
It's like
should do
my
it.
I have a sign that says coffee, like, do more things faster, or do more stupid things faster, like,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, so
Oh
good.
my God, 100%. Um, but they said they changed their look to something quote literally quote unquote freaky. He was like, we want to change our look to something freakier. Like we wanted to be noticed, and we became the Blade Runners, which
Mm-hmm.
love the name the Blade Runners. And I literally just put they were ripped, dude. I mean, they were huge.
They were just
They
like
were
ripped
bodybuilders,
guys
but they
with
were
like
face paint.
mascara and like
Yeah,
eyeliner.
swear.
Like
They
they
were
just
yeah.
added eyeliner. They went full Pete Wentz and just
I was gonna say they went full clandestine. Like,
wow,
they
better.
went, yeah, they went, they were huge bodybuilders that were really moved by Black Parade and
Oh,
like made a
clearly.
change in their lives.
Hmm.
Which like relatable. But
Hmm.
they were Sting said, we were just hoping to get noticed by promoters and maybe loved this, maybe get a match with the Road Warriors.
Right.
Loved to see young
Hmm.
Road Warriors. I love them so much. I
Love them
also
so
was
much.
thinking about how this made me think about how amazing it is that you have for lack of a better word, a gimmick that literally is so good it carries you through your whole career.
What, the
Like
Road
the Road
Warriors?
Warriors and
Never
even
changed.
Sting. Sting has been Sting since this. Like he wasn't always the same Sting, but his name was Sting. That's who
Right.
he was. Like his character morphed, but it was like Sting is morphing. Like I'm
Right.
not, I was this and now I'm not Razor Ramon and now I'm Scott Hall. I'm not
Right.
like, and
No, it
Scott Hall
was
is always Razor Ramon, but
once
you
he
know what I
landed on
mean?
yeah, no, he was Sting from the rip pretty much. So,
Yes. Or even like, whatever. There's so many. But I just the Road Warriors Sting, like they just it's so good that
hmm,
the character morphs in itself, but it's never I'm a different character. And like
right.
The Undertaker is a great example too. Like I
Correct.
know he has like a whole other genesis, but it's still him. And I just think that's I almost cursed, but I just think that's amazing.
Right, right, right,
I'm so
right.
impressed by that. Um,
Because
but
it's not easy to
so
do because wrestling fans are fickle.
no,
So,
fickle man. And like again, it's cool that like you can change, it's very human. Like you can change things about yourself, but like the character
hmm,
itself is changing, not like it's
right.
a different gimmick. I just think that's cool. I'm
Hmm.
so into that and like how amazing that works because I know like even Shawn Michaels has that genesis where
Correct.
he's still
Yep.
Shawn Michaels, but like things about his character change. Triple H
Right.
is another great example.
Triple H is a great example of that
Great example of that.
because like he starts I mean like the thing is like he's still Hunter Hearst Helmsley like the whole time technically,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like he just kind of morphed with the times. Like he just
Mm-hmm.
was like there we go, and it just became a yeah, no, just a more relatable to whatever was going on then character,
Yep.
which is great. It's just it's I'm always really impressed when wrestlers can do that, just because. And like wrestling fans are fickle and they'll drop you like that if it's not working.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. Because even
so
greats like Cody Rhodes, he had multiple gimmicks before he was Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. And now
correct.
that's like really carrying him and he could make changes within that.
Hmm.
But he was like whatever it was, like the gold dust kind of thing. Like
Stardust, yeah. But the thing is, like,
Stardust.
he had to go hit the road and like make that name for himself before he could come back and be like, I'm coming with this. Like,
Yeah.
this is who I am. Like, if you want
Yeah.
me, you have to take this. He's like, I'm not doing all of that
That's
anymore.
that whatever that
Right.
fuss anymore.
Hmm.
And I love that. Again, it works.
Hmm.
But yeah, so that was I thought that was really, really cool. But so JR says they had like a really unorthodox style, but they were gonna be he was like, we saw them and we were like, they are gonna be our new younger road warriors.
Right.
And that was at UWF.
Hmm.
And so Sting and Rock, which is Ultimate Warrior at this moment, end up dissolving the tag team. Sting becomes his own thing, like he's a singles wrestler.
Right.
Um, JR says he had such good physicality that if he could just round out the dramatics that wrestling requires, he could be in it for the long haul. So like he had the physical wherewithal, but he just needed to do that like the drama.
Hmm.
And
Right.
he's
Well,
like
there
he
needs to be he needed to develop a character. Because at this point
yes.
in the Blade Runners, one, it's easy to like not easy. It's easier to not necessarily have to fully form your own character when you're part of a group because always seen as a
So
group
true.
first.
So true.
So now he's on his own, and you need to provide something that people can like relate to and bite into and root for,
Yeah,
which is
100%.
not an easy task. and some people never just make that. Some people are just never able to make that connection. Like they could have all the skills in the world, but they just fall flat when it comes to relaying that outward to a crowd,
Dude,
to a camera.
you know who's coming to mind for me is Mark Miro. At least right
Yes.
now. We've talked about this before. Mark Miro, sorry, this is a quick tangent. I think is so talented physically. Like the shooting
The,
star press is so crazy. He's
mhm.
physically so amazing. I have no interest in what's going on in his life. And I don't mean that as a read. Like he
Right.
just doesn't connect in a lot of ways.
Correct.
Like Sable is more interesting with what her storytelling is than and Mark Miro, I feel like physically is so talented.
Right. But that's the you need to be able to do it all.
Do it all.
Because if it was just a like a matter of like physicality, like play a
Easy
traditional sport.
peasy.
Like,
Yeah. Oh, so
you
true.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Just
if all they needed from you was to just be like an athlete, play a sport. Like this is entertainment.
this is entertainment television.
Mhm.
So true. Or even just entertainment if not on television. It's a
It's a show.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, fully. Um, so Sting talks about how Crockett comes in and buys out Bill Watts, the owner
Hmm.
of UWF. So now they're on TBS, which is amazing. They went from like basically nothing to suddenly
Yeah,
national
they're on a
television,
superstation.
which is
TV
wild.
CBS back then was like Turner's like or like bread and butter. So
Yeah, yeah. So now Sting went from like he had his core group of fans and now he's getting exposed to a new audience like never
like a
before. Like
national audience. Yeah.
national audience. And he was unique and he was very exciting. Lex Luger talks about there was an interview where he forgot what he was going to say, so he just beat his chest and howled and everyone went nuts. And that becomes like his
A
thing.
thing. Yeah.
It's his thing. And it's so funny that he literally was like, I don't remember what I was saying, so I'm gonna go crazy. And
Right.
they were like, woohoo, like, and
Yeah.
everyone loved it. And now that was his thing. Um,
And but that's the thing is like if you're charismatic enough, like you can get anything over
you can make
if
water
you
into
believe
wine.
in it enough, then it doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah,
So
you can sell me anything if you would sell it to yourself. My
right.
God,
Mm-hmm.
I'll buy it. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So he has this match with Ric Flair that puts him on the map. He does that warrior scream and the crowd goes berserk. Like they go
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Um, and he said, so I what I loved about this documentary is that they had him sit and watch the matches. So they had Sting literally like they put him on the couch in his house and like put it on the TV and like they just had him sit and watch. Sting is so endearing. I
So
don't know
endearing. He's such a
what
good
it
guy. I don't like
he just seems like a little like he just seems so gentle. I don't know. And again, that's my perception of him, but he just seems like a good person.
right.
A
The same.
very good person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, crazy. Um,
But he's just lived such a like probably wild life that you know he's got good stories.
oh, 100%. And he's one of the people, oh my God, Crystal and I were just talking about this. How real life is truly stranger than fiction. And sometimes if you just let life happen, the stories just appear. Like you
Right.
really don't actually have to try.
Right.
Like and he just seems like a person who's very laid back and just kind of not lets life happen to him, but he like is open for life's happenings. Like he's very like
Correct.
go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy shit just happens. I'm not saying
Right.
it happens to him, but like he's seen some crazy shit just from being like allowing life to life,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes any
To
sense.
unfold in front of him, you know?
Yes, thank you. I was like my words. Yes. They wrestled for 45 minutes with no commercial, which at the time he said was like unheard of in any athletic sport. Um, and they were competing against WrestleMania 4 at the time.
Crazy. Mm-hmm.
So which wild. And he said this put me on the map for sure. And Ric Flair said I really liked wrestling with him, and I think he really liked wrestling with me. It was just great.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
They have
so
like they build a like lifelong friendship because of this.
I mean, you could feel it. Like
Mhm.
they just seemed like
There's
they
just a
worked
like a
so well
level of
together.
respect between the two of them, like that is just like you really see Ric Flair was in the corner of Sting for his like last like run, like his last hurrah. They actually brought Ric Flair into AEW to like send Sting off, like
Wow.
because it was important to Sting that like the person that like made him or in his eyes, you know, like put him on the map and really like allowed him to make a name for himself, uh, was there to help him finish that whole saga.
Yeah,
It was
I
it was a
love
it was a
that.
nice full circle kind of thing.
And I love a full circle.
Hmm.
I love when they bring people up from the rosters that made them who that they feel like influenced who they are and like
Hmm.
have to like have them present for when they like come to the culmination of something. I love that kind of story.
Right.
Makes
Hmm.
me makes me crazy. Um so then they talk about the Great American Bash, which was July 7th, 1990, which we decided to watch. I was
We
so
just
thrilled. Like
watched. Yep.
we literally just watched. So it's Sting and Ric Flair again. Sting says he was much more confident in this match, as you can tell right off the bat. I'm like really like I'm super confident. This match was amazing.
Amazing.
Xavier and I took no notes. Like we were like,
No
okay, let's
notes.
watch this.
I
We'll take
literally
notes, whatever. And I realized at the same time, like Xavier said to me, he goes, I haven't taken a single note. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't either.
no,
Oh
because you're
no.
just enthralled. Ric
It's
Flair is
beautiful.
in like the prime of his career. He is so he is often regarded as like the best wrestler to like do it. It's like as far as like
Yeah.
technicality goes and like showmanship at this time, like like as far as being like an all around like total package wrestler, like Ric Flair is so up there. It's
I
like
mean,
it's like Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, like people who can sell like a mofo,
oh
who
my
make
God.
everything look
Amazing.
believable, allows you to like takes you on the journey, whatever that journey is. Ric Flair was a heel most of his career. So like uh is able to take the crowd like where they want to go. If they want them to cheer, like they've got something set up. If they're like trying to do some underhanded things, like they're on top of their P's and Q's. Like they are just so well rounded in this game that like
Yeah.
they're just put on such a like a high pedestal. And the thing is like Ric Flair is a 16 times world champion in a time when like this was like territories. This was one champion went around to every territory around the country and would put on matches, and you had to be able to draw in every single city, like, and make money for all of those territories. Like it was a huge responsibility, and it's not like it's like easier today, because it's, I'm sure not, but
Right.
it was a very different just setup as far as like being the world champion and what that meant. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Especially because outside of the WWE, you're in WWE, you're just representing the WWE. When you were the NWA champion, you're the National Wrestling Alliance champion. You are representing all of these people.
Oh my
Um,
God, that's crazy.
and
That
they
is
have to
insane.
like the heads of all of those like territories get together and vote like for
Oh
who's going to be
yes.
the champion. So you really have to be like such a professional. You have to like make a good impression in every territory, because eventually those people that you're wrestling for are going to vote on whether or not like you're ready to take that next step.
Oh wow.
So it's just, it was a very different like time, and like Ric Flair is just insane. So to have Sting, like who's really just like young in his career, like he hasn't been around like too long at this point,
Mm-hmm.
um, like get put on that level with him,
Shoot.
crazy, crazy, crazy. You don't get
That
like you don't get much they call it like getting the rub. Like you don't get a much better rub than that.
I
um
mean, that's wild.
mhm.
And we were saying, I don't remember exactly what you said, but how Ric Flair be dressing, and we know that. I was like, I mean, the boy's basically ranch. He's dressing. And then what did you say? One, two things
Oh,
he'll do.
oh yeah. Oh, I was like, if there's two things Ric Flair's gonna do, it's gonna style and profile. That's
Style and profile, period. I
that
love
that's
that.
that's Ric Flair. Styling,
My
profiling.
God.
Yeah, that's just that's his thing. He always he become that come out in $10,000 robes,
Love.
and when he wasn't like in his like robes, he was in like three-piece suits backstage doing interviews.
Amen.
Like
And
he had a new Rolex every week. He would like charter like private jet. Like he lived the gimmick. He was like, "Oh, if I'm gonna be this one, I'm gonna be this one." Like, and it is like widely known. Like Ric Flair spent money as quickly as he made it. That man
period.
was the definition of like wheeling and dealing. That guy was like just grabbing life by the balls. Let me tell you, that guy lived.
And
Like,
you know I live for that. Because if you're gonna have the word flair in your name,
you
you
better
better
bring
not be
it.
coming with the mess.
No,
You
you
better
better
not
bring
come
it.
here with mess. You better bring it. You better bring up treasures from the sea. Like you better be crazy.
And that man, like there's just like stories upon stories of like Ric Flair drinking people under the table. Like that man would go out and rage like to like the umpteenth degree, get up and go to work the next day.
And that's our friend.
That love that.
And that's our
Crazy.
friend.
That's
And that's my
crazy.
friend Ric Flair. And that's my
Crazy.
friend.
And he's
I
still he's 80 hawking energy drinks. Like he's
oh
not slowing down. Like
I swear, like even he was in the Migos video not that long ago. He's
that man,
still out here in the rap videos.
he's part of he is now in pop culture. Like that's how just prolific
Ooh,
this man is.
my God. I mean, nothing but love and respect for my bestie Ric Flair in the roast.
But yeah, he did a
Because
lot for Sting in this kind of
and I
scenario.
love that. So that was an amazing match. It was when he wins the title for the first time. And of course, the first thing Sting immediately does in his little interview afterwards is thank Ric Flair. He's like, Ric Flair was an amazing champion. I have some big shoes to fill. Like, I know
Hmm.
that we've had our differences, but like, he was an amazing person. Love
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
So then they cut to like he's on WWE grounds, he's in there and they're going through like merch designs, which is super cool. He just
Love
seems like
that.
a
I
fun
would eat
person to
that up.
work. Oh my, we talk about this all the time, you guys. When the
I'm
merch phase comes, you won't be ready because Xavier
no.
and I love merch and we talk
And
about ideas all the time.
like merch and the process of getting there. Like we love
A
it all. Like
100%. The process is actually my favorite part where it's like what
right.
the culmination from the idea to the execution, that process, I live in that process. I love that
Amen.
process.
Amen.
Thrills me to no end. So they're going through merch designs, they have it all on the table. It's just like it's a cool thing and it just seems so chill. He seems like he's so fun to work with. He's like, "Oh yeah, man, like love that idea. We can move this, like whatever."
Hmm.
Then they cut to the barn, which this would be so me. If I had memorabilia, the way I would hoard it, it would be crazy.
Yeah, well, I'm
Um,
glad he doesn't like just like infiltrate his entire home. Like he's like, oh no, I made like a
there's a
whole
place.
right,
There's a
right,
place
right.
for it. And that's honestly tea. That's really
Hmm.
true. So he has this on his property wherever he lives is there's a barn and it's just filled with his stuff. Like all his costumes throughout the years, his wrestling memorabilia. And he mentions that the same woman makes has made all of his garments for years and he never says who. And
I
if you
know,
guys
which
have been watching this
really
show, yes,
I
irks
knew
me to no end.
because
Irks me to no end.
I knew when he said he's like, oh, the same woman's been made, and I was like, oh, I was like, Kelsey's gonna love this, and then he
Yep.
moves on, and I was like,
Thank you. I was feral last night down the rabbit hole on the internet trying to figure it out. And by the way, I made a boo-boo in one of our episodes about WrestleMania 40, and I said that King Troy made Cody Rhodes' WrestleMania 40 outfit. He did not. I found out who it was. We're hopefully going to do an episode about her. But King Troy just does Seth Rollins. So that's my amendment. But finding out this information, I truly am at this point where I believe it's like supposed to be some sort of trade secret. Like
right,
it's some sort of like you're not supposed to say because I even found the person who made Cody Rhodes' mask for WrestleMania 40. I think that's who is like kind of speculated or said, but he's never posted about it. He never claimed that he did it. No one ever tagged him. I found that on like a Reddit hole.
oh, I'm sure that's WWE legal for you, like,
Has to be, right? Like that they don't want other people up on the game, which like I get, but at the same time, it's like the same woman has been making Sting's garments for literally like 30 years and like we just don't even get to mention her. I don't
hmm
know why. Like I want to talk to her. I want to know her. I want to understand. Like
hmm
it must
how'd
be
you
a
get
trades.
here? Like,
How'd you get here? How did you end up doing this? How do you know him? Do you like
right,
doing this? Like
right,
how much creative freedom do you get? Like there's so many things I want to know because to me
hmm
it's so integral in just the presentation of wrestling, duh.
right.
But I just feel like it must be this like trade secret where they don't want people to know. And like I get it, but also tell me who it
But I want
is.
to know.
But I want to know. I
Mhm.
just want to know because I'm in awe of their work. I'm in awe
Right.
of their work where it has to be beautiful and functional. And
Yeah,
how do
and we
you
just
meet
want to
it
give them their
there?
flowers. That's
That's
it.
it. That's it. We can even do it anonymous. Like you can have the voice changer thing they do on the news and
Right,
it can be your
100%.
back to me. I just want to
Hmm.
talk. I'm like, I just want to talk.
No, literally. And they're like,
Ringing your doorbell. I just want to
they're
talk.
like, who's this
Come outside. I
strange
just want to talk.
lady?
So again, this is my 400th time asking if anyone has information on people who do the wardrobe, design, costuming, whatever for
I'm about to start stalking LinkedIn.
cause yeah, I'm annoying Xavier to the point where now he's gonna get involved and he hates that. But I'm like, I mean, I'm sending him voicemails at 4 in the morning, like, okay, so I went on this Instagram and I reached in the comments and I found like I'm driving him nuts, and so now he's
No,
gonna
not at
take it
all.
into his own hands. So if anyone has any information, just let me know. But
Please.
so
Please.
then unfortunately, they got to Eric Bischoff, sorry.
Mm.
Um, and he says, Sting embodied a kind of energy that people really believed they could build a company around. So I guess like you see him and you're like, money, 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 money. We can base our whole shtick off of this man.
Yeah, but then he doesn't. So,
But
like,
beep boop. I can't wait to talk about this. I literally again texted Xavier 3:30 in the morning last night saying, can't wait to talk about Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan on the show tomorrow.
amen.
Um And Sting says, as the champion, there was way more of a demand. I was at everything. And again, this seems like an obvious thing, but you kind of forget that that means not just every show, it's like every show,
Every
every press
pay-per-view,
conference, every pay-per-view, every interview,
every meet and greet,
every meet
every
and greet, even meetings like back of the house meetings of like
yep,
with the
he
storyline, the locker
mhm.
room, that like
And they would drag him to like corporate meetings. Like they would drag him to like Turner events just because it's like, oh, like he is the biggest star on our television show. So he has to show face.
that
Uh,
is wild. And again, it's like, yes, obviously, but you kind of forget where it's like, it's not even just like a 6, 7 days a week job. It's like a 7 days a week job, but it's like an every minute of every hour of every day, 7 days a week job.
right.
It's just wild. So Eric says Sting was the younger, more energized Ric Flair. And like maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. I mean, obviously there was some Ric Flair tutelage happening, like working
Right.
together.
And I don't think it necessarily meant like such a literal comparison. I think it's
Yeah,
more the way that they wanted to prop him up
I
was
see.
going to be in a similar way that like Ric Flair was propped up.
Yeah. So then they have Hulk Hogan also on the documentary, and he says Sting was the standard bearer for WCW. He pretty much was the one man show that carried the company on his back, the hood ornament for the company. And they like showed he was on like the front of every like WCW magazine,
Mm-hmm.
posters, like merch. Like he was huge, which he should have been. I mean, he
Right.
was amazing. Then they cut to Sting's sons. I will also say the way that they cut this was a little bit chaotic. Like it
Yeah.
was like
It's a
it
lot
was
of
a little
it's a lot
bit
of
timeline
flashback,
jumping
flash forward, like
and not in like the best way. I would
no.
have done things differently, but you can obviously say that as like someone who had nothing to do with it. Like
Right,
me
right,
who has
right.
no talent in editing or putting something together. I was like, I would have done things
I
differently.
also would
Like,
have I also would have
but
put it
you
together
who are a
differently.
professional editor would have done things differently. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So as we've discussed them on the show before, but there's Sting, and then there's Sting 2 and 3, which are his two sons,
Yes,
Stephen and
honestly,
Garrett.
the apples did not fall far from that tree. Like
Not not at all. So Garrett talks about, this is really funny. He goes, he was so present in our lives. He was like such an amazing dad. And I didn't like understand really how famous he was, like, because kids would come up to me and be like, they would give me like their homework and be like, can you have your dad sign this for me? And so I thought that was normal. So I would like go to my friends' dads who were like normal people and be like, can you sign this for me? Like
right.
he was like, which I think is so cute.
That's
And I
so
just
cute.
love that. Um, and yeah, he just said he was like there a lot. He was normal. They show this footage of him Sting walking around with his kids just like on the street, and I guess like somebody had filmed him. He'd be dressing. He was wearing
Hmm.
this like amazing leather coat with like fringe and
Hmm.
like he's just gorgeous. I've restrained myself for this long. We've been talking for what,
Yeah,
like 30 minutes and I haven't said it. He is so
he's so
gorgeous.
gorgeous.
It's unbearable
Hmm.
actually.
No, actually, no, it's upsetting. Like I
It's
like
it's you said it, it's distracting. Like we were
yeah.
watching one of the matches and we were both just like, oh,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah. No,
He
it's
is.
distracting. Like
It's
really and truly.
And it's not even just that he's gorgeous, which he is. He's his character, how he carries himself, the way he
Mm-hmm.
looks at you, and he's not even looking at me, but like the way he looks
Mm-hmm.
at, oh my God, it's shocking.
Yeah.
Um, JR says Sting became the franchise of WCW because a lot of guys were leaving and going to WWE, going someplace else, wherever, but Sting stayed consistent. So he became the focal point of the WCW brand.
Right.
And we've talked again, we talked about this. I mean, he was tried and true. He was there till the very end, from the
Mm-hmm.
literally the beginning to the very end.
Correct.
Um, Sting said, I hated the way WCW was talked about. It was always like the second class citizen to WWE, which we have definitely done that, talked about it
Mm-hmm.
as like, whoa, you can have all the money, but look where you are. Like we are no
Right.
strangers to ripping
Yeah,
WCW, and you all know that
as is deserved in on some
in a
level.
lot of
Don't get
ways,
me
in a
wrong,
lot of ways.
they really fumbled the WCW pack.
For
But
sure. And the bag was
the
big,
bag was big.
really
So,
big, girl.
yeah.
And I relate to Sting so much in this where sometimes I say this all the time, loyal to a fault, where I
Mm.
will like stand behind something I shouldn't have even stood beside, let
I
alone behind or in front of.
gotcha. I
I
get
should have
it.
stood 50 feet away, and here I am.
I
So
get it.
this is relatable, very relatable. I
I
get
get
this
it.
so much, and that he still rides.
But it also like it shows like during this time he talks about like why he stuck around. He's like I knew that if I went over there like I was going to be working
Yep.
all of the time. And that was the case.
Yes.
That was the way it was back then. You were working 300 plus days a year. And he's like I was a family man. Like I wanted to be home. Like I wanted to have the ability to raise my family. And the thing is like nowadays, like now recently there was a wrestler who chose AEW for many of like the same reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in like this one interview, like Triple H was like, "Well, if you don't want to like do all that, like you don't belong here." Like in a way that made it sound like they couldn't hack it. But like the reality is like I was like people would have loved to be able to like have a balance in their life back then.
A
Who would have
100%.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
and it's yes, I'm sure. Like, if you don't want to work the WWE schedule, you probably don't belong in WWE. That is a fair statement to make.
Period.
But the way it sounded was like, oh, like you can't hack the schedule, and it's like I don't think I think there is a big difference between like, oh, I like can't do this versus I have other priorities in my life that
Mm-hmm.
are equally as important, if not more, than this.
Yeah,
And I think,
absolutely.
a lot of a lot of people in any career, not just um, wrestling, like will make a lot of sacrifices in other areas of their life to be really good at something. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it was more important to Sting to be able to like at the end of the day, at the end of life, be like, I did everything I could for my family through the means of wrestling.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people like would not have done that
Nope.
and didn't do that.
Yeah, especially during this time when it was like the case, like to run yourself ragged, leave
Mm-hmm.
your family behind. I mean, how many times have we talked about on the show
Right.
where it's like it was wrestling every single minute of every single day or bust. People are doing drugs because they have injuries and they are afraid to take time off. They're afraid to be home with their families because they're
Right.
afraid to lose their spot. And he was like, doesn't sound like me. Doesn't sound like
Right.
something I would do. And honestly, it's so funny because it reminds me of like when Kim Kardashian was like, nobody wants to work these days. And the gag was like, it's kind of true because we don't. Like, there are people who want to be career people and like their whole life is their job. And then there are people who are like, I want to work and then have work-life balance. Like, I want to work and make a livable wage that makes my regular life comfortable and
Right.
enjoyable and livable.
Right.
Like, so that is kind
Not
of the gag. It's
everybody's
like, no,
priority is,
it's
the
work,
grind. Like it's just true.
period.
Like and it's just such a like it's just such a like a serve for like back then to
That's
do
when,
that.
especially back then.
You know
That's
what
what
I
I'm
mean?
saying.
To just be
Period.
like to look all of that like in just like all of that, just what WWE is, how big it was, like all that, and just be like, there are more important things. Crazy.
I mean,
Love
amazing.
that.
Especially he even mentions like when I saw Ric Flair, like when he went to WWE, change. And like not necessarily him, but like yes, but his career exploded. And at the time he was like, I mean, like you just think Ric Flair is like as big as he's huge. And
Right.
then you go to WWE and it's like completely elevated on a whole nother level. And he literally witnessed that and still said, no, I'm good.
Right.
I like it over here.
Hmm.
And it's respectable, it's admirable. I do not care. I think it's
Right. I agree.
amazing.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, he was like, I was a family man, wanted to be home as much as possible. And his son Steven says, I mean, he was home a lot. And when he was home, he was actually home. It was kind of like when we talked about Bam Bam Bigelow, and it was like when he was home, he was just our dad. Like it
Right.
wasn't wrestling, it wasn't whatever. He was like literally just our dad. And Garrett says he definitely tried to be more of a dad than he tried to be a wrestler.
Hmm.
And again, in the long run, it's paying in dividends. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it ends up
Seeing
and
where how his like career and life has like progressed from that point. It's like how can you it is really hard to be like, oh no, he made like a wrong decision. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's hard to look at all of his success and at the end of it be like, no, you didn't like do everything correct along the way. I mean, I'm sure he didn't, but like who is anybody to like go back after the career he's had and be like, oh well, like you could have been in WWE, and you're like, you know who Sting is, correct?
Uh,
I was like, I don't think he needed it.
No, shoulda, coulda, woulda, and it's already over. And I think he says it at one point. He's like, I could have done this sooner, but I didn't, and now I'm here. And like
Right,
that's it. And I really got to learn something about that. Like
right.
I
I
really got
get
to get
that.
on that wave. But literally, Ric Flair says, Steve, meaning Sting, made a lot of money, but if he had come here, meaning WWE, he would have been nobody's equal in popularity. Vince would have taken Steve to an entire other planet. But again,
Hmm.
it's like that's a whole other thing, like selling your soul, and he
And
didn't.
yeah, and Sting even mentioned he's like, I always felt like during that time, like Vince wanted me more to spite WCW than he wanted me, the
Yes.
talent. And
Right.
that didn't sit well with me.
Yeah,
So,
he says that when WWE buys WCW and he's
mm,
like which we'll get to, but he's like I just feel like I was more of a commodity than I was a talent and like
mm,
that bothered me, which I love.
mhm,
Again, it's knowing yourself, knowing the people around you, just literally observing and understanding
right.
people and their nature and yourself and how you're going
Hmm.
to react to it. And he's just very observant. Like I don't
Hmm.
know, he just so good. But Rick Steiner says he was a very humble guy, intelligent guy, and he had this like Jekyll and Hyde personality. And Sting said it was like a switch flipping. Um, like when he went from like who he was and then who he was in real life versus the ring, or just versus
Right.
like his new characters. Like it just
Yeah.
he was able to turn it on and off. But Eric Bischoff says Sting was loud and glittery and bright and shiny, and that wasn't anything like the Steve Borden I knew. Because he just seems
Right. Even
so
keeled.
gentle. Yeah,
Hmm.
even keeled is a good word. So late 80s, early 90s, WWE was always the flagship number one. But by the time we launched Nitro and all that, everything changed. And so
Yeah.
that was
As we know.
obviously
Yeah.
Monday Night Wars, went from being second class citizens to the number one wrestling program in the world, according to Sting.
I mean, it was
But
true. They were.
they were huge. Yeah. I mean, and now that we've seen more matches in WCW, I'm like, it is kind of turnt over here. I'm not gonna lie.
No, there was a lot of good things happening in WCW. It just
Yeah.
was just mismanaged. Like that's
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
long and short of it is that um it was just very poorly managed.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that because we obviously were watching WWE, but then the first program we dipped into was ECW, and Paul Heyman just hates WCW so much.
True, true,
I
true,
feel like
true.
it kind of like influenced my perspective. But then we've watched a few WCW matches, and like I said, I'm like, you can
Yeah.
kind of feel the
And
money over here.
hmm, hmm.
Mismanaged money, but you can feel the dinero over here.
Yeah, no, for real. No, and I was saying like even like my like some of my favorite eras of WCW have nothing to do like are pre Nitro or like are
Mm,
really like I really liked this the some of the feuds and some of the like matches that come out of like the 1990 to like 1995 like range.
yeah.
That's where Cactus Jack came from, that's where Sting comes from, that's where Vader comes from.
Yeah.
That's like yeah, big bad.
Big bad.
And I ate that up, ate it up, ate it up, ate it
I
up.
would
And
too.
like it is a stark contrast from, Nitro forward, but like that was the whole point of Nitro forward was to be, different. So
Right. I still hate the name Nitro and I will die on that hill. But the name Starcade works. Works me out. Love that name. And I also love the name of the Halloween one they did.
Halloween Havoc,
Halloween Havoc kind of turns me out. And like
I
to
love
have a
that.
match, have a pay-per-view for Halloween turn. Like I love that. There were things. There were good
Hmm.
things. Um And Sting says, but wrestling, we were the number one program in the world, but wrestling was changing. Wrestling fans were changing. They wanted to see something else, a little bit more cutting edge. We've talked about this a million times. How like fans hungered for something different. And a lot of wrestlers went from being babyface to heels. Sting says he felt the shift happening, knew his character was gonna have to change as well. So like also like Hulk had already done his whole genesis from Hulk Hogan to Hollywood Hulk and NWO. So like just the tides were turning. It's like the
Hmm.
Undertaker era, the anti-hero era, like things are just moving. And he clocked it and was like, okay, so in September of 1996, he begins disappearing. This is literally the best. This is the best storyline. I just love it so much
Yeah.
because
So we get to this point. So we were at September of 96. So we are now after this. This is the some or like the fall after NWO is formed.
the bat
So
was that Bash at the Beach. Yes.
in 96, correct.
Yes.
So Bash at the Beach happens, that's in like July. Hogan turns heel, forms the NWO, essentially from um July up until like I mean for a long time. But NWO runs like roughshod all over WCW.
Yes.
And essentially like Sting gets to this point where he's so frustrated and so like just over all that's like going on that he's like this is the last time you're going to see me for a while, like, and just disappears, like
Work.
just gone for like 3 months. Like you don't see him, you don't hear from him, you don't, and like nothing, and then the next time you see him, completely different.
Oh, I just got chills.
Hmm.
Full goosebumps all over my body.
I'm
That is
telling you.
so good.
And
I-
it was and from he does not wrestle from September 1996 until December of 1997. So he is somehow like this crow character becomes such a integral part of the show every week, and he never wrestles. He never wrestles. So he would show up in the rafters, like, and all of a sudden, like, he would just like in the middle of a match, there would be like a whole match ongoing. You hear the commentators like freaking out, like you're like, whoa, like what's happening? Blah, blah, blah. The matches would stop. And you would just see Sting just standing in the rafters, just staring down, saying nothing, saying absolutely nothing. He would come into like matches and essentially like it looked like he was kind of like recruiting like WCW guys. So he would like come in like he really, and especially during this time, he really like played the fence as far as like NWO wanted Sting to be on their side, so they kept trying to
Duh.
recruit him. All the while, like Sting was essentially taking out everybody. Sting was like an equal opportunity, like I'm gonna kick everybody's ass. I don't care. So for like a good long while, he would just like show up, wreak havoc, not say a word, leave, or he would show up, go and like he'd show up like essentially looking like he was like recruiting like WCW people. He'd like show up, say nothing, just point the bat at them, and then they'd follow
Oh,
him, and
yes.
then they'd follow him out.
Wouldn't you?
Yes.
I would. Immediately, I'd be like,
So and it just like over time became like such a thing. And then they planted the seed that like Sting wanted Hogan. Um, and then they built up to that match for a year. Making them wait has the payoff if you do it right, which we'll talk about because the match has a controversial ending. But if you're talking about like long-term storytelling, this was top tier as far as like getting to Starcade in 97.
I mean, it's so good. The way that you just telling me that reads like folklore. Like literal, like someone is telling me this around a campfire, and like Sting
Mm-hmm.
is literally like this mythical figure. Like the way I was enraptured with every word you were saying, and this is like the most incredible story I've ever heard.
Okay, so I think I'm just gonna we're gonna do the thing where I just say that we're gonna do a thing and then we eventually do it. All right, so I
Yes, I'm so excited
am
because I know what you're gonna say.
all right, I am going to do a little research on my end. I'm gonna pull this storyline essentially for us to watch.
Oh my God.
Whether that's going to be like its own series of After Darks or just a segment on After Dark. I love this transformation of Sting. I love this whole storyline.
I love it.
This is like 97. I'm like literally like 3, 4, but like these are the moments that like I became like enthralled with Sting. I was just like obsessed with him when I was a little kid.
I
And
get it. I
I
get
had a
it.
so to the point where I had a poster of him that I was like scared of, but wouldn't like take down.
I feel
Because
like you've told me this before.
yeah, it was just like it was like a black poster with Sting like with the crow makeup, but like just his face is just so like just and like it scared the ever living shit out of me as a child. But especially like in the middle of the night, you like wake up and just Sting's just like and you're like, huh? But like I
I
refused to let
love
them
it.
take it down.
I
I
love that.
loved that poster.
That's
Um,
amazing.
but yeah, I love the storyline. I love the transformation. I think the Crow character is one of the coolest things
The best,
ever,
it's the best thing
ever.
ever.
So you'll have to bear with me, but we'll get that train rolling. We're gonna watch the Crow Sting storyline.
I'm
Um,
so excited. I could cry. I'm
yeah,
so
and
excited.
realistically, like it might be just like watching a couple minutes of Nitro, because for a while he like is barely there.
Is
So, which
gone.
is great.
Love it.
Hmm.
I mean, because even just oh wow, I'm so excited. The shift from, he says it, like the shift from like surfer guy kind of with the neon
Surfer
face
Sting, yeah,
paint
that's what
and
we call it.
yeah, the surfer thing, and then like the hair, and then he just goes from like hair grown out, white and black, just darkness, and
Hmm.
everyone just went like this. They took the ride. I'm love that. Everyone just immediately, like, I don't know, I wasn't there, but like it just feels like everyone caught the vibe and was like, this is awesome
Yeah,
that
same.
this is
That's essentially
happening.
yeah, and it's like, and the thing is like it was such a contrast. Like it I think it worked because it was such a like flip. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because in addition to the, like the dark makeup, blah blah blah, he just stopped talking. He just didn't say anything. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the scenario where it's like less is more. Less is more. Just give me like Sting just shows up. You don't really know like what he's thinking, who he's after, what he's gonna do. But like the man's rappelling from the ceiling. He's like, it's crazy. He's taking out like 20 members of the NWO with an aluminum bat. It's crazy. It's so good.
So wild. I am so obsessed with this, and the way I would have fallen in love with him is crazy.
Hmm.
Like I did just now,
I
like
get.
this watching this, but
Hmm.
literally back then, sick. Would have been
Hmm.
so sick. It's literally like divine intervention that I just got here, because if I was
Hmm.
a child and saw, no, sick. I would be so different. I'd be so different. Um, but I love this quote. Literally want to like burn this quote into my skull. And it's so simple, but it's so good. If it doesn't make sense to be what you always were, you have to change.
Right.
The end. So good.
But
Because also
true
real
of
life.
life, true
Yeah,
of
I was just gonna say true
wrestling.
of life, true of wrestling. What did we say? Wrestling is everywhere. That's the whole thing now.
Everything is wrestling.
Everything is wrestling. Everything is wrestling. Um, and allegedly the idea for Sting's new character was a Scott Hall creation. And he says, I'm not telling Scott Hall says, I wasn't telling him to rip off Taker, but I was also like, rip off Taker. Because I
Yeah.
mean, who was doing it like Taker? Which also I realized like just now, it's so funny that you were Sting and I was Undertaker for Halloween this year for a
Yes.
Halloween episode.
Yes,
Like
yes,
just
yes.
without even
And
I
also, that is like the dream match that never happened. That is
oh
people wanted
wow.
that to happen so badly. It just the timing never worked. Like it just
Why would you
never
tell me
worked.
that? Because
Yeah.
now I'm sad. I didn't know what I was missing till you said
And now they're both
that.
retired. Yeah.
Oh no. That's so sad. But
Hmm.
also, I don't
But
know what I would
honestly,
have done.
sometimes like the just the scenario is like we just leave it as a what if.
Yeah, sometimes the yearn is better than the product. Like
Right.
that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 100%. Because then I could always wonder. Sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
is nice to wonder. I mean, so good. But I remember, so Sting says, I remember thinking that this could be one of those times where the fans would just fart all over it. It was literally his exact words, where they
Right.
just hated it, but
Mm-hmm.
they didn't. But he said, even guys in the dressing room were questioning this, like, where is this going to go? How is this going to work? Like, what is this even about? I don't understand. Um, but Big Show says, first time we saw it, we were like, oh, now that's reinventing yourself. That's
Mm-hmm.
taking it there. That's like really sending it. Eric Bischoff says the crowd loved it. It went from him being up in the rafters to giving him that big ugly vulture hanging off his shoulder. Each and every week, having him drop into the building and scare people was a blast. And it got to the point where the audience, I don't even think they really cared if he wrestled or not. They just wanted to see what the hell he was going to do next.
Right.
And he literally, they showed this clip of him popping out of the ring, like literally from the floor,
Mm-hmm.
like to blast Eric Bischoff, just
Love it.
friggin' blast him. And who doesn't want to see that? Because I
Mm-hmm.
do. Um, but the NWO was so successful and so believable and so over to have someone that could literally stand up to all of them was big,
Mm-hmm.
is what Sting said, which was really funny because I know I had a moment where like my real life vocabulary and my wrestling vocabulary like didn't fuse because when he said so over, I know
Mm.
it means like so over with the fans, but at the moment I thought he was going like, and they were so over. Like they were
Oh,
so over, and it's time for me to stick up for like to stand up to those
got it.
boys.
Got it.
And at first I was like, okay, work. And then when I
Mhm.
wrote it, I was like, oh, like so over with the fans. But
That's
I literally
great.
wrote,
That's
I
awesome.
underlined so over as if he said it like, and they were so
So
over.
over.
They were canceled, girl. I like
So
so
funny.
funny. But he was literally a mute, didn't speak for 18 months, and he would point to signs in the audience to get his messages across. So
Hmm.
when he really started gunning for Hogan, he would point to signs in the audience that said like Hogan,
Or
like
like
Hulk
Sting
Hogan,
wants Hogan, or like
Sting wants
Hogan's
Hogan or
scared of
whatever.
Sting, like blah blah.
So good because again, like use the test to take the test. They always bring signs. They're always going
Hmm.
crazy. So how do you literally it's like the movie Signs. Like
Right.
literally like just
Just
I'm
you
gonna that's
use
how I'm
what's
gonna
there.
communicate. It's like oh my God. Oh my God, that show on Netflix with 11 Stranger Things where he
Yes.
uses like the lights to like
Hmm.
communicate. Just use the
Yes.
test to take the test.
Right. Love to
Um
see it.
So, Starcade 1997, we also just watched this match, which is Hogan versus Sting for the world title.
Hmm.
Um, and it's, I said, basically a beef a year in the making.
Correct.
He said, so Sting says, me being the face of WCW for so many years, and then NWO and Hogan coming in, it was just a perfect build. This is huge. This is fantastic. So,
Hmm.
again, Sting is watching this match again, like
Right.
in his living room, just like reliving it. Girl, the promo of Sting in the Rain. They showed a little clip of it here, and then Xavier blessed me by saying, just watch the first 40 seconds of this pay-per-view because it's a little Sting vignette. And I said, all right.
Probably had to
I
watch it twice.
I watched it twice. I literally was like, I'm so sorry, I have to watch it again because I was again, you can smell and feel the money. But
Hmm.
like it's so
Good.
good.
It's so
It's
good.
So good, guys. Literally, first 40 seconds of Starcade 1997 on Peacock. Go watch, please.
Right.
40 times. I'm gonna watch it again after we hang up. I it's so good. No words, just
So good.
Sting being like a Batman-esque figure,
Hmm.
vigilante. I'm so in love with him. It's crazy. Anyway,
Oh, I love it.
it's crazy. So the match takes place, like I said, 18 months of no talking, no interviews, just communicating the way that he was doing with the bat and the dropping in. And he says it was just pure storyline that got us
Hmm.
here.
Right.
Pure, no matches, no
Correct.
matches between them until
Hmm.
now.
Right.
Wild.
Hmm.
The thunder and lightning entrance, it's
Dude,
again, it
the
is very
the the
Undertaker.
way I still got goosebumps watching
Yes,
that today was crazy. The entrance for Sting in this is
eats.
eats. It's like his best entrance like ever. And I I remember downloading this match specifically back in the day when you had to like like use like illegal downloading whatever
Oh my
services. Like
God.
I remember watching this match over and over and
Oh my
over again because I
God.
was obsessed with the Sting entrance. He looked so cool, and like this was like the first time you've seen him wrestle in so long, and it was so different, and you were just like, I'm here for all of this, because like you had just watched this man gone after Hogan for a year. You're
Without
just
words.
without words, and like never, and just not getting it, like going after him for a year and just not getting the opportunity. And it's just when it finally, like, you get to that point, you're like just like flying out of the seat of your pants because you're just like, oh my God, this is amazing, this is
So it
great.
was shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking. They had like netting on the ceiling and they projected like images on it, like,
Hmm.
and they had like a child's voice talking over it,
Oh,
which
it was
normally I
amazing.
hate, but it
it
was
was
so
it was
good
so good. It was like the battle for good and evil
and
like
evil.
begins, like, and you're just like,
A a
so
villain
good.
was born out of like a whatever, and now he has to like
And he's
fight with
something
the
with like
demon he wrought.
and
Like
it's
it's
like he
crazy.
speaks with like a voice of silence, and you're like, oh my God, this is
I s-
amazing.
I said instead
Amazing.
of the "Now we lay me down to sleep" prayer, I'm gonna kneel at my bed and just recite that and be
You are
like,
not wrong.
"Amen."
And just wait.
It's
I want that to be like my Beetlejuice, 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 and
and
just hope that
Sting
like one
just
of them shows up. Like,
I oh my God, it's so incredible. And it is like, and I don't want to make this comparison, but it is like kind of Undertaker-esque where like the lights black out and then it's just like the
hmm.
it's
Hmm.
so good. It just works.
Yeah.
I just love it. I love it so much. Um, and I also loved that, there's been this, I was expecting him to propel in from the ceiling because I know that was
Hmm.
like a thing. I love that they had him walk in because it was almost like, I am here and I mean business. I'm just walking in. I'm not
Right.
doing like there was theatrics, obviously, but he like instead of dropping from the ceiling and making it this like thing, he was like,
No,
I'm just
because
coming in because I'm ready to fight. I'm
hmm,
ready to
no,
fight you.
right, right. No, it's he's done the like, yeah, the guerrilla warfare for a year. This is his time
Yes.
to head on take the challenge that he is like thrown. Like this is it. It's so
It's
good.
so good. I have chills again. Like
I
it's
know.
so good. I want to watch it again, like right now. But he said, because again, hasn't been wrestling this whole time.
Hmm.
Says, I was worried I was gonna have a little rust, but he does say Hulk and I trusted each other. I couldn't have done this with someone I didn't trust who was gonna be there to
Which is pretty funny considering the all of the rest of the what's going on behind the
thank you.
scenes.
I thought the same thing. I thought that was very generous. But he will say what he's gonna like. I don't think that's not true. Like, I don't think Sting would lie. It's like, okay, yes,
Also,
physically, I trust him to be there as a professional wrestler,
also I feel like
character
time.
aside.
Right. Yes. 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 Yes.
But
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
will change you,
Time will soften some of that.
especially watching it. Like you're sitting there and watching it, and you have like graduation goggles on, sort of like you
And you're, yeah. Yeah.
nostalgia will kill the fire in you.
Right. Right. Right.
It's
Um.
happened to me many
Yeah.
times.
But apparently there was like lots of controversy regarding the finish. Like
Pissed me
had
off.
came to Sting with like a finish, and he didn't. Apparently, he was like silent that day. Sting alludes to the fact that there was like he's like maybe there was like a conversation. Like sure, he's like most of the conversations was Hogan and Eric behind a closed door. So I don't know about all of that, which really tracks if you just know anything about
No
Eric and
anything.
Hogan. That's just to me. It seems like uh Hogan didn't want to do the job that he was probably supposed to do and wanted an ending that made him look uh stronger or like a controversial ending or something so that like at the end of it's not a clean finish. It is not a
Mm-mm.
1 2 3 or like a straight tap out finish. So then that gives Hogan the claim to be like, the next night or whatever, be like, you didn't beat me fair and square. You know what I mean? Like it makes it like it allows Hogan like a return because it didn't like. But my thing is like, I think for me, it's like if you're going to lead everybody for like up to this point for a year, I want a
Mm-hmm.
definitive ending. I want
Period.
a
I
one, two,
agree.
three. I want a straight tap out. I don't want the referee to get knocked out. I don't want a new referee. I want this match bell to bell to be what it was supposed to be.
100%.
And that's the disappointing part of like this match is like the ending is like meh.
And it's annoying. It's so annoying because it's like he has to either look really good all the time or he's the victim.
Right,
And I deserve a shot because they didn't play fair. Shut up. Like, I
right,
don't know. It just makes me so mad. And like, first of all, it's crazy to me that it was the day of the pay-per-view, and they're sitting there arguing about how it's going to finish.
right.
What do you
Which is
mean?
crazy because like
Because
you've been planning this for a year and you don't know how this is gonna end, or like you're suddenly like not okay with how this is gonna end. Like, what is the deal? Because not for nothing, but if you've planned something all the way up to this point and like you're trying to like figure out the ending now, I was like, you changed the ending. Someone changed the ending, and like that's why we got what we got. Like,
a hundred
I would
percent.
love to know what the original plan was.
Yep. Me too. Because it's obvious, like you said, it wasn't that. And Hogan has a history, and we know this, of changing shit at the last minute. Yokozuna,
And
literally day before WrestleMania, decided that's not what he wanted to happen.
right,
Day before.
right. And yes, this is not new for Hogan. This
No.
Hogan is when they talk about like backstage politics in wrestling, I always think Hogan. I
Yes.
always he is like for lack of a better term, like he is like the Donald Trump of backstage politicking and
Yeah.
in wrestling, which I
Mama.
mean, ironic
Apropos for
because
the
of what
day.
we
I mean,
know.
apropos.
Um, and once
Woo.
again, everything is wrestling. Like
Amen.
yeah, so I don't know that I it just really bums me out that like one of the best storylines like that have in my opinion ever happened in wrestling gets such a like murky ending.
They,
It's not I don't think it's what Sting deserved. I
nope.
don't think it's what the fans deserved.
Nope.
And it's just I don't know. It just
It's a,
leaves me with like a bad taste in my mouth. And but the thing is like
absolutely.
I still love the match. Like for the most part,
Of
I love
course.
the I like I don't know, it's just like and part of that is definitely the nostalgia goggles for sure. But
Hmm.
it bums me out that like Hogan was Hogan, so we get what we get. And it's just like
It's
I'm so
so
tired of
annoying.
that. And like the fact that we're still living the Hogan is Hogan, so we get what we get is crazy.
It's so wild. I really want to get off this train. Where are
Right.
the doors? I will jump. Like I
Hmm.
really pull the emergency brake. I'm finished. Like I
Because there has to
hate
be like a
it.
certain point where like your wrestling contributions like it's
We're
like
done now.
right 100%. It's like
The
I'm sorry.
statute of limitation is well past.
I was like, you did what you did for wrestling. Great. No one can take that away from you. Your crazy racism since then, just not gonna look
I
past. I'm
don't
so
want to
sorry.
take it from you. You better
Right.
hold that.
You're gonna no, you're
Hold
gonna
it.
own that whether you want to or not, ripping off your shirt at the
Period.
Republican National Convention like a psycho.
And
Um,
please give me a break. And it just the stumble at the finish is so frustrating, and especially because I will sometimes the obvious ending is just as good. It doesn't take away from anything. Literally Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. It was like you Cody Reigns like was like meant to win.
right,
He just was. And that obviousness or like how it was built didn't change how it made you feel. It was
correct.
like
Because it
this
was still
release. It
done
was
correctly. Like, and
yes, and it
and they gave you a surprise that wasn't the ending of the match. That didn't
yes.
compromise the ending of the match. They gave you tons
Yes.
of surprises. They like, but it still at the end of the day was Cody beating Reigns clean in the
Clean.
middle of the ring. Like
Period. After
it
doing
just
his finisher, like, and it still delighted in so many ways. It thrilled, it was exciting, it was so good. And I just feel like that could have happened here and it would have been even more awe-inspiring. Because again, it's like NWO was this like unstoppable force. It was crazy. Even like Chris Jericho was saying, like, there were so many moments of reality where I was throwing chairs and shit because I was so frustrated about how they just like wiped everybody out of
right.
this place. Like, Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit having to leave because they were like, we couldn't even like make it past anything anymore. They were unstoppable. And
Right.
having a figure like Sting, who's so admirable, has literally worked so hard to get where he is. He's committed to WCW. It was the face of the company and to
Yeah, it
switch
was
and then be the
already
one to
built
take
in.
them out.
It was already built in that like Sting was the face, Hogan comes in 94, now Hogan's the centerpiece. It like that story is already there.
Yeah.
Like before you even get into the nitty-gritty of the NWO. The two of them would have had, like a good feud regardless. But
Yeah.
then to like do this whole thing where he's like he's not talking, he's blah blah blah, like he like builds this whole aura around this character and then to not give it the payoff I feel like it really deserved. Like yeah, it was like
Absolutely.
it ended, it was great, they were all celebrating in the ring or whatever, but it's like if you like didn't watch like I don't know, it's just like it, if you didn't know anything, like Bret Hart being there is super confusing. Like
Random. Makes no
super
sense.
confusing. Like
He didn't
and
want to be there either. You could tell.
right. And if
And
you
I love
watch
him to
the Who
death,
Killed
but
WCW documentary, he goes in and talks about this Bret Hart goes in and talks about this moment. He's like, it was stupid. I don't know what this ending was. I just was told what I was doing and like, it was my job, so I did it, but like it didn't
right.
make sense. And you're like,
So annoying. And then what really pushed me over the edge is if I couldn't be more angry is Eric Bischoff says this, and I literally would like saw red, where he goes, I think Hulk was a little concerned that he was about ready to make a big move with a guy that wasn't as committed to where we were going as Hulk was to where we had just been for the last year.
I was
You're
like,
saying Sting
Sting,
wasn't committed?
that's
Are
what's
you
crazy.
crazy? This literally,
That's
I had to pause and be like, no,
I was like
no,
the
you didn't
gall,
just say
the
that.
unmitigated gall
Oh my
to
God.
literally the literal stalwart of the WCW, the only one who didn't come from somewhere else, leave and come
Oh
back,
my God.
like the only one, the only mother her who didn't leave. And you're
Oh
going,
my God.
he's not as committed as Hulk Hogan, who literally just goes to the highest bidder. There, what are you
Oh,
talking about? What are you talking about? You mean Hulk Hogan, the guy who got like who had to leave WWF because of a steroid trial that he somehow managed to skirt, even though he was the main culprit in it?
mm,
Sure, that makes total sense. Yeah, that guy,
oh my
that
God.
guy's committed. Sure. You're kidding.
Unbelievable.
You're
Kidding.
kidding.
Enrage me. I saw red, literally had to pause and walk around my room a minute. I was
I
like,
was like, I
what?
was like, okay, Eric, okay.
Uncommitted?
Not as
Uncommitted.
committed. The man who
Mama.
literally didn't talk for 18 months
18
for you,
months.
changed his
Mm-mm.
whole character, did this whole thing, like, not committed. F
Girl.
you, dude.
You
F
I
you.
literally
Like,
wrote,
where do you get off? Like, really?
please.
That's so insulting.
Disgusting, to be honest. Disgusting. What's wrong with you? Face of
What?
your company for years and years and years. Like, yes, was NWO interesting when it popped off? Absolutely. But the storyline kept maintaining interest because of Sting and because of like in a way. Like, I'm sure
Well,
there were
no,
other
there
things.
needs to be a foil to this. Like, and that's the point. Like, hello, like, it's boring if the a faction just comes in and just annihilates everybody forever. Like, that's boring to watch. If you already know the conclusion, why would you watch the show?
Oh my
So,
God.
like, to have like probably the best foil that you could have ever
Ever
had,
prayed
because
for.
he has the same colors that you rock. He like is dark and like kind of looks like a bad guy, but he's not. And like it's just it works on so many levels because like
Mm.
for so long people were like, oh, he's black and white, he must be like NWO, like he it must be like he's joined them like that. And that was the narrative for so long. They were like, oh, like how could Sting do this, blah 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 blah. And it's like, how are you gonna call that guy, like, who
Uncommitted.
progressed that whole story with the NWO for a year and a half, 2 years, uncommitted? Like, you're so depraved of like just any like sense of loyalty to anything that is in Hulk Hogan's left testicle. Like,
I swear, I
I
swear,
I am
bruh.
so at this point, like Eric Bischoff is just like just like a budding like growth on like Hogan's testicles. He should really go see a doctor, turn his head and cough and get that checked out and fixed. Because like that is crazy that this man has just been on Hulk Hogan's
Oh God.
ass since 1994 and has never left. He
And
this
why?
this man has been just up Hogan's ass as long as I have been alive.
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 30 years.
30 years.
What?
Probably smells horrible.
Girl. Oh, that enraged me. I was already mad and I was like, how dare you? And
I
this is why
know.
I'm sorry I could never back him. I don't care what he's done. Irritates me to no
I'm no,
end.
I've never been an Eric Bischoff fan. I've
Never
never.
clocked it from the jump.
I don't care. I'm sorry, but
Noodle.
I'll say this to the day I die. Anybody that like is claiming something that they did like 25 years ago as like the only thing that they have as a credit to their career, like I don't care. Like I don't care.
Hmm.
Like I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I was like,
girl.
they're like, I beat WWE. Yes, that was very impressive of you. You did it for a little over a year. The WWE has been a company for like 50. What do you want? How many accolades do you need to like make yourself feel like your career was worth something? Like, I don't know
Mm,
what to tell you. Like,
yep.
he makes me so mad.
Enrages me. Listen, I'm new to wrestling. I'm not new to reading the girls, and I
Right.
will read Eric Bischoff down every time.
Yeah, every
He
time.
enrages me, and I'll listen to you do it too because that's clinic.
he,
Um,
he really does. He makes me so mad.
oh God, me too. So yeah, like Hulk Hogan wins, but he like doesn't, and so then like whatever, Bret Hart comes in, throws him back in, and then it's this whole thing. Whatever, Sting gets the Scorpion,
Deathlock.
Deathlock. Thank you. And like picks up the victory, but it's sticky, icky, as we said. Whatever. And literally Sting says he was afraid the match wouldn't live up to the buildup of it, but now it's wrestling history. But I mean, you already just heard us talk about it. It is kind of a stumble at the finish, but again, still goes down in history because it is a legendary fight. Um, so then it jumps back to WWE headquarters in 2014. Sting has a meeting with Paul Levesque, aka Triple H.
Hmm.
Um, and then so he like it's a quick jump where he like walks into the meeting with Triple H and then it immediately jumps again back to 2001 where it's Vince and the purchasing of WCW. Um so I will say what was kind of interesting about this is that they barely show Vince at all. Not upset about it. Vince is like not in this at all. And I'm not
Hmm.
saying like even just him as an interview like person, but I mean like they barely talk about him and they barely show any clips of him either.
And I think that's because Vince had very little to do with Sting's career. Very
Right.
little.
Which
Like
I love that they
he
kind of
didn't really have a role in Sting's life. So it's like,
work.
what
I
really would he have to add? Like,
Yeah. And I love that, to be honest. I was
mhm.
like fine with not seeing him at all. But so the last Monday Nitro ever was in Panama City. It was Sting says it was a hostile takeover. This was not television, this was real. Like
They didn't
where
know.
yeah,
They showed up to work like it was a normal day. Like they found out when the world found out on
which is
television.
psychotic.
Hmm. Yeah.
Psychotic.
Yeah.
Um just no more words for that other than that's bizarre and
Hmm.
like shouldn't happen.
Right.
But he says I was fighting back tears. I don't mind telling you. And they have him watch his very last match on Monday Nitro, and it was him and Ric Flair. The
Hmm.
way, I mean, the full circle. And he said, you know, if I'm gonna go out, I'm glad I'm going out like this. And he goes, and it's crazy. It's your life flashing before your eyes, like all these amazing career memories. And he starts to talk about what was gonna this is so cute. He like starts to talk about like what happened with his like attorney and blah blah blah. And then he goes, wait, actually this is really good. I'm enjoying the match. And he like stops talking and just watches
Hmm.
it for a little bit, which
Yeah.
I love. I
Hmm.
mean, so sweet. But he says that the way his contract was structured, Vince could not inherit his contract.
Right.
It was not like that for many other people, and many other
Right.
people were just like sucked
And
into the vacuum.
I think he was lucky in that regard because he was there for so
Absolutely.
long. He got like grandfathered out of that. Like he didn't.
Absolutely.
The contracts that I'm sure came later didn't have that kind of protection. So
Mm, yeah. And it's funny because like that to me, I would take that as like kind of a sign. Like if I was seeing it's like all these people are getting like sucked right into WWE because they own their contracts now. I don't. So therefore, is it like a thing where it's like, okay, well, I have the privilege of getting to be kind of a free agent, and maybe I should step back before I get sucked into WWE and like really think about this. And again, like there's the whole like he knew if he went to WWE, there'd be a lot more work involved. He wouldn't get to be with his
mhm.
family as much, whatever. But it's also like what a crazy, I don't want to say coincidence because it wasn't, it was paperwork and stuff, but like just like okay, well, I've been given this opportunity to like, I'm not a WCW, but I don't have to go to WWE. Now I can kind of make my path the way I want it.
And he
And like,
does.
and he does. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that
So
because I don't
yeah.
want to say it would have been easy to go to WWE because it's a lot of
No, but
work,
it would
but
have
it
been
would
the
have been
next
like
logical,
a
like,
transition.
right.
Yes.
But so WWE, this documentary, for all what it does, really glosses over the fact that in the 15 years between
Oh
his
yeah.
debut in WWE and his, the final Nitro in 2001, Sting had a really good career in TNA, Total Nonstop Action, Impact Wrestling. It changed throughout his time there. Where he essentially like he goes into this like uh, a little bit like I want to say like it was maybe like smaller than like AEW. Like into a brand new kind of like independent-esque promotion, and goes in and elevates all of those young people. Like
Oh God.
all of those, like he goes in and he has like feuds with like AJ Styles, because AJ Styles like got the
Mm.
start of his like or the where he popped off and made it big was in TNA.
Who
He has
retires Undertaker? No.
correct.
Work. Love
And
that.
um like he goes in and like Kurt Angle makes his way over there. He goes in and just goes in and elevates that entire brand because of his name
Mm.
recognition, because of who he is, what he's done in the business, what he has to offer. He goes in and just has a great career in this time frame, which WWE never wants to mention, especially well, now it's a different story. Now we have like literal crossovers between TNA and WWE happening every week essentially. But
Wow.
under Vince, other wrestling promotions did not exist.
Yeah, well, as we
Unless
know.
Vince owned them, you could not speak about them. So the TNA was never mentioned, New Japan was never mentioned, AEW was never mentioned. There was only the WWE as far as like Vince's mind goes.
Right.
So in this documentary made again under the Vince umbrella, because this is 2014.
Yes, and it's a WWE produced documentary. I don't know if I
Correct.
mentioned that,
They
but
never mention any of that.
which is
They
psycho.
literally make it sound like he has not wrestled a match since 2001, which is just not the case.
Yeah.
Separate from the like Crow Sting storyline, I want to do a like Sting through the eras like matches. Like I want to pull some matches from each of the like eras that are like Sting is like known for. So
Would
Sting
love
goes
that.
like he starts Surfer Sting, he goes to the Crow Sting, he goes to TNA, and like you kind of get like a combination of the two, I guess. You kind of have more of the
Ooh.
personality of like Surfer Sting, but the look of Crow Sting. And then he even like at a later point in his career, like does this like another switch where he kind of takes on the he kind of molds after Heath Ledger's Joker, and goes into like a Joker character.
No.
Yes, it
Come on.
goes a little wild
Oh, I
in that
love
regard.
that.
Again, this is just it's a WWE documentary, but I feel like it would be remiss to talk about Sting's career and not mention his time in TNA, and we will definitely be watching some of those matches.
Yes. I will say again, I said it in the beginning, but we need a more comprehensive documentary on Sting. Like a
Right.
real character profile on like the
Hmm.
entire thing. I would watch the crap out of that.
Right.
Um, so Sting wins the match, his final match against Ric Flair. And like we said before, Sting mentions that he thought Vince wanted him more to undermine WCW than and less his talent. And he cuts this promo that's kind of like a nothing's for sure. I don't know where I'm going because everyone obviously had questions
Hmm.
knowing that WCW was purchased by WWE if he was going there. And he was like, I
Yeah.
really don't know. Nothing's for
The
sure.
only things for sure about Sting is nothing's for sure.
And that's on period, girl. Um, then it cuts forward again and they show him going into like a meeting room with Vince, which I also wanted to mention that that promo that Vince cuts where he talks about how he purchased WCW was so creepy. And I know that he's supposed to be at that time, like that's his
Yes, he's
character.
yeah, he's like very much in the like Vince Mc or like the Mr. McMahon like villain character.
Yeah, it worked for him. It freaked me out. Um anyway, so he has this meeting with Vince. So basically what the like the underlying current of this documentary is the fact that Sting is going to WWE for the first time because he wants his goal, the final notch on his belt that he really really wants is being able to say he wrestled at WrestleMania. So he has this meeting with Vince. Then it kind of cuts to his like training and he says which again they really gloss over the fact that he's still been wrestling for the last 15 years, that he's training, continuing to train. He's like, I always want to be ready for like when calls come, when whatever. They make it seem
Hmm.
like you said, like he's been waiting for 15 years for the phone
Right.
call.
And which I don't like and I don't
I don't
appreciate. But
either.
like yeah,
Whatever.
but yeah.
So he says, I want to say that I wrestled at WrestleMania. I want to have that under my belt. So in November 2014, he signs like a very short-term contract to enter Survivor Series. Which is sick. Like
So
awesome. So good.
this
This
let
is what I wanted to talk to you about
okay.
because you, as a lifelong fan, since you were a wee child,
Hmm.
loving Sting the way that you do,
Correct.
and like, did my first question is, did you know he was going to be at Survivor Series?
I had no idea.
Because they were keeping this super tender wraps, right? So you hadn't
Yes,
heard
and
anything.
also like realistically, like in my mind, was never gonna happen. I never thought Sting
Never.
was gonna do it. Like I at that point in his career, I just thought he was like, no, I don't really feel the need to ever do that. Like I don't know.
Right.
I never thought it was going to happen, like at all. So I remember watching this and just being like flabbergasted. I was like, No way. And that is when wrestling is like at its best, when they get you. You know, when
Oh
they
God, when they
get
get you.
you and you're like, I got because I love this man, and I never ever thought that I would see him do anything with the WWE. So like to like have those kind of like world colliding kind of like moment, it's so fun. And it's like the older you get like as like a wrestling fan, the harder it gets to like surprise you. So like when they can
Yeah.
still get you, you're like, damn, that's good. Like that's
Oh my
awesome.
God.
And then and it goes to the like the they like always joke about it is like never say never in the WWE, never say never. Like
Hmm.
anything can happen. So it was great. I loved it. I was so not prepared for it just because I did not think it was a possibility. So,
Wow.
mhm.
I thought about you because I was like, I know Xavier's loved him for so long, and I can't imagine like you're sitting, like you're watching, you're just like, yeah, this is good, like la la la, and then suddenly Sting's like music hits and the lightning, and you're like, no, wait a minute, no, no, no,
Right.
no, 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 and then
Hmm.
you're like, I must be wrong, and then it's like you see his face, and you're, I just,
I
oh
know.
my God, I would have died,
I
I would have screamed and died.
yeah, I was losing it because it was just like it's so cool. Like it's just such a cool like full circle moment. Like you're just like Jesus. Like what are you doing here?
Yeah, what
Uh,
are you doing here? Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and
So
like
cool.
the makeup and the costume and the bat and like to come out like that. And the fans, because you can tell some people, I watched it back twice actually. Some people didn't know who he was, really. Like some
Right.
people were like, who is this? And the people who knew, girl, the people who knew,
Lost it.
ballistic.
Yeah.
Ballistic.
Because
They
it's
actually,
crazy.
it's
Because if you,
crazy.
it's literally like if you know, you know. Like if you know who this man is, you know what a big deal him showing up at the WWE is. Like
It's
you know, like,
psychotic.
mm-hmm,
They cut in, I was so glad they did this. They cut in like a video someone took on their phone. Like this person was just like videotaping Survivor Series and suddenly Sting's thing hits and the camera's like Cloverfield. Like they
right,
were like,
yeah,
no, like
100%,
freaking
100%.
out. The people who knew it, literally, I have goosebumps. I mean, I was like,
Mm-hmm,
moment for those people who were there and
mm-hmm,
knew and got to experience that. I swear to God, like I wish I could feel a smackerel of that joy in my heart.
mm-hmm.
I would be healed. That is
Ugh,
crazy and
so
beautiful.
crazy.
And we find out it was like Triple H's like kind of idea. Like he was the
Right.
one who started the talk because like obviously.
Yeah.
Um I mean, it's so good. He says he was like super nervous to go out. But and literally Triple H says the hardest thing in this business is to keep a secret. And we just hit him all day and brought him out at the last second. And when it's right and it hits. I mean, come
Mm-hmm.
on.
You
And
can't recreate it. Like,
you can't. Oh my God, so crazy. Sting says, like right before he's about to go on, he's like, right now, this is my dream. Like, this is real. This is happening right now. And hopefully that wrestling fans get the same thing is this happening right now? Like, I
mm-hmm,
can't believe this. And he goes, and I'm feeling the same way. And it's so sweet because you can see Sting is trying not to smile. Again, I watched this back like
yeah.
twice for sure, maybe three times, but he has this demeanor, but the reaction is so crazy and it's so good. And you can tell he's like trying not to smile because it's
Mm-hmm.
it's just nice. Like you didn't know what was gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen.
No,
Um,
and it's like you that is an audience that like a section of the audience like is ride or die WWE. Like they,
yes.
you know what I mean? They didn't want anything to do with WCW. So like there is there is like a oh like are they gonna how are they gonna take me? Like
Yeah.
and like do they remember me? Do they miss me? Do they
Do
like
they care?
are they excited? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do they even care? And like that all like granted, like, he's been doing it for a long time, so like I'm sure he has a gauge of kind of what it's gonna be like, but it is a new audience for him. Like, so
Yeah. And especially like you said, like there was like factions. Like people like really were like, I am ride or die WWE or ride or die
hmm.
WCW. And like you don't know who's still holding the grudges or not. Like
Absolutely.
it's
No,
just
honestly.
so good. And I literally wrote, there's just something about his eyes. Wow. Like this
Hmm.
was literally like 2014 and he's still like just wow. He's
Hmm.
just got something. Um and that is his very first time in a WWE arena. Literally, he has never even dipped a toe. Like, that is
Hmm.
crazy. So wild. John Cena says the reaction was unreal, and I shared the same sentiment as everybody watching. Surprise. Surprise that the moment that never happened is happening. It was something special.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, amen. And then this is I said no one talked more highly of Sting in this than Big Show. And it was
Mm-hmm.
just this one quote, but it was so sweet. To see him back there when I saw him and the smile on his face and how excited he was, you know Sting is one of those kinds of guys that he's always good to have around. He's a good influence on the business, he's a good influence in the locker room, and he's a good influence on our fans. So sweet.
I love
And
that.
they show him in the back like backstage after because he wrestles Triple H in Survivor Series,
Mm-hmm.
which is also great. But they show him backstage and he's talking to like Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman and like
Mm-hmm.
all like Big Show, like all the faves. Like he's just cutting it up back there and I love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Um and Sting says, I'm excited, I'm pumped up for this. It's gonna be a ride and I'm looking forward to it. So then they cut to him looking through a longer WWE contract, like the real deal, like
Mm-hmm.
papers on papers, like it's serious. And he says he's been talking to Triple H about this since December of 2013. So
Yeah.
like a year
I
in the
he
making.
does he strikes me, especially just the way that he's talked about like the contracts and what he's like, he's not he does not rush into anything. You know what I
Love.
mean? Like I think he like very much so. He's like, oh no, if I'm signing, I'm going to read it all. I'm going to cross
Yeah,
every T, dot every I. Like I'm not signing my life away for nobody. Like,
period. He
so
literally says it's been a mountain to climb,
right,
the
yeah,
talks and the contracts.
because he's I think he's one that's like not gonna make concessions on some things. And like I
And
think,
good.
yeah, and I think that's like, you when you're writing a contract, sometimes there's a lot of back and forth. And like if somebody like knows what they want, knows their worth, and is not gonna like, then sometimes you really gotta do a couple drafts before you get to like something you both agree on.
Yep.
So
And there was like a moment too where the other contracts for Survivor Series where they were like, "Oh, did you look through like the bigger contract?" And he goes, "Oh, my lawyer's got to go through that before I sign any of that
right, yeah.
work." And I was like, "Period." Like get him on the phone. And he said, "Okay, well, here's a copy for you to read too." Like because it was the
Hmm.
implication of like my lawyer's going to look through it, but I am too. Like I'm not like we're
Right.
all going to read it. We're all going to be
Hmm.
really on the same page and I love that. Um but he does end up signing it, as we know. And he says it feels awesome. It feels good. So March 2015, WrestleMania versus Triple H. I mean, it's just
It's so
amazing.
good, yeah.
It's so good. And so Sting is there. He says, this will be the biggest event of my whole career, and it can be intimidating for sure. But I've been doing this for a long time now. So the roar of the crowd, it's gonna make me feel like I'm right at home.
Hmm.
And period. I
And period.
mean,
And you can see when
duh.
he comes out, like he's like I had to look all the way around, like to
Yeah,
just
he was like,
he's like, oh no, we are sold out, sold out, sold out. And I
yeah.
was like, yeah, baby, it's WrestleMania.
And one of the commentators says, like, as Sting's like looking around and taking it all in, they're like, I mean, Sting's been here around a long time, but he's never been around a WrestleMania. Like, this isn't Starcade. Like, this
Yeah.
is
Hmm.
big, big business.
Hmm.
Um, so they do have this moment where like Vince comes like to him before like he goes out and like says some like stuff like have a good match, like honored to have you here. And Sting
Right.
just like, yep, thank you, like honored to be here, thanks for the opportunity. But they
Mhm.
like it's like Vince's back the whole time and like he doesn't show his face. It was, I don't know, I thought it was like kind of weird, but I'm
Right.
also fine not seeing him, like I said. um Sting says, it's going to be big, but until you're out there and you're in the moment and living it, it's like every single person that's been in WrestleMania from Stephanie to Triple H saying, hey, breathe it in. This is the real deal. Because it is
Hmm.
like a spectacle, as we
Yeah.
know. I mean, they had the drummers in face paint for
Yeah,
his
we'll
entrance. Turn.
we'll watch that, don't worry. I
Work. Okay,
just I
great.
didn't want this episode to be 8 years long, so
Right, right, right.
I
I mean,
kept it
it
at
will
the
be
two.
anyway, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
but
gift
literally
of
like
gab.
the drummers, yes, the drummers with the face paint, like in the Sting face paint for his entrance, so good, so
Hmm.
amazing. And I will say too, Triple H's entrance was turn. I
Triple H
love
has
that.
great WrestleMania
The
entrances.
cyborg thing with the
The Terminator
Terminator
thing.
heads,
Hmm.
cut it out.
He's got
Holding them
like
like,
really good, and we'll have to. I'll find. I'm sure somebody has put them together, like Triple H's like WrestleMania entrances, because they're pretty good.
I mean, it was so good. I literally wrote like cyborgs for Triple H entrance is such a serve. The
Such a
Terminator
serve.
heads, love. Um, we get special guest appearance from NWO, which I actually don't know how I felt about, but
Me
it's
either, but it's
fine.
fine
Okay.
because it
Because it's
doesn't
like,
real like okay. So if you like didn't know anything about like the storylines or whatever, you're like, oh, fun, WCW, NWO, so fun. They're like on the same side. But to me, I'm like, they had beef the whole time,
no, please,
the whole time.
please keep that same energy.
I was
Keep
just
that
like,
same
seems
energy.
weird, but I mean, I get it for like the fans to like have like a DX NWO like first time crossover, blah 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 blah. Like,
I
sure, but
guess.
like
But the way that I feel like NWO would have been on Triple H's side, like in
you mean
in
you
lore.
Oh yeah, you mean the way that they're all like BFF Jills? Like that was just all of Triple H's friends, both
Yeah,
factions, basically.
yeah.
Plus Hogan. Like I highly doubt like Triple H and Hogan are cutting it up, but like
The way, like I'm like the
it's
way
just all
Triple
of
H
Triple H's
would have been
friends.
in NWO, like the way that would have been a thing. I feel
Yeah.
like I don't know.
Although
Like
yeah, yeah,
I mean, but again, I don't. What do I know? I'm new, but
yeah,
I didn't. It wasn't my favorite. I think there could have been other things, but whatever. It
yeah. But
happened. It was a
mhm,
moment. Dude, the bruises on Sting are
mhm.
crazy at the
Oh
end. It's like, holy shit.
yeah,
Like he's taking hits. It's a
yeah, dude.
great match though. We didn't see the whole thing, obviously, just clips. But um, and he says, like, so Triple H wins, but like I kind of figured that would happen. Triple H wins. And at the end, he says, we stopped putting on a performance and it was really just real. And they were like just talking, like shaking hands, Sting and
Mhm,
Triple H. And I guess Triple H had said to Sting, like, you were the one I always wanted to wrestle and never got the chance to. And so, like, this is like a dream come true for me. Like, thank you. And I
mhm.
had this moment where I was like, it's really cool because you hear wrestlers talk a lot about, like, ooh, I want to wrestle with that guy. Like, when Undertaker was talking about Yokozuna, like, he just
Mhm.
seems like a guy I'd want to, like, try around like around
Right.
in the ring with. Like he just seems cool. And I'm like, that must be cool to like kind of, I don't want to say like collect wrestlers like Pokemon cards, but to like have a
To collect
list of
wrestlers like
wrestlers,
Pokemon cards.
but
Like,
like have a yes, like I we're just like, oh my God, like seeing somebody in a different organization and being like, what they're doing is really, really cool. I would love to like scrap with that guy. I
mhm.
would love to like have a good like back and forth with that guy. Like I just think that's cool. And being like, you were on my list of people I wanted to throw down with and never got the
Right.
chance to. So this is like really cool.
Mhm.
Um, so I love that. And Sting says, I don't forget where I came from. As the years go on, like you appreciate it more. And full friggin' circle, Sting goes backstage and he meets Arnold Schwarzenegger. He
Mhm.
was there. And he was
Yeah.
like, hey, like good match, man. Like they had this like kind of weird, like in passing like moment, but he was like, hope you got that. Like he literally like Arnold Schwarzenegger like drives away in a golf cart and he turns around to the camera and goes, hope you guys got that. Like,
Right. The
like
reason he started bodybuilding, which led to wrestling, like he just
was
met it.
that man.
Right.
And like how crazy where it's like you're like, yeah, I'll get I want to get WrestleMania like under my belt, like la la la, and like that'll be cool, whatever. And
Hmm.
then like so that's full circle. And then you go backstage and you're like, well, all the cool stuff is over. We did it, da da da.
Hmm.
Then the reason you started bodybuilding is back there, and you're just like, hello.
Hi. Yeah.
What?
I know.
So cool. I
I
just loved
know.
it. And the turnaround and going like, I hope you got that. Like
I know.
so good.
So cute. I can't.
Um, but it ends with Sting. He's leaving the arena with his family. And his kids obviously were like, it was really cool. I mean, he was awesome. This was like a
Hmm.
long time dream coming true, like just amazing. So he's walking out of the arena with his little suitcase and his family, just
Hmm.
thanking the crew as he leaves, like, oh, thanks. And they're going, good job, good match, Stinger. And he's like, oh, thank you. So sweet. And he just says, to hear the crowd react and to hear the buzz all over the place was just awesome, just an awesome experience. And I'm very grateful.
Mm. Yeah.
I longer, more,
I
more and
want more.
longer, more and longer. I want
More.
to know everything. And again, was that maybe a choice that he made to keep some of his private life private? Sure, surely.
Sure.
But then,
Want to
I
know
don't
more? I
know.
want it longer.
Want to know more? Want to know longer? I would watch a whole episode on you taking me through the entirety of the barn to see all the memorabilia. Like I would really, I would take anything. I'm a like,
Hmm.
has there been an episode of Mick Foley's show where he goes to the barn? Because if there's not, there should be.
I don't know because Sting wasn't in WWE long and then worked for a different company. So I don't know.
I guess, but I just feel like that is like a
A
museum.
treasure trove, I'm
And
sure.
I'm sure Mick Foley wants to go there because
Oh,
Mick Foley don't discriminate. I
and he
mean, and
knows Sting. It's not like
and I'm
he's
sure he
like
has been there, but I feel like he would love to like legit like highlight it. I
right
mean,
and go like live some of like relive some of their glory days, like the two of them, like because
absolutely.
they had a feud, like it was good.
I mean, yeah, we watched the whole thing.
Hmm.
The reason we ended up getting onto Sting, which even though I always wanted to get onto Sting, but like because we were talking about Cactus Jack,
Right.
but which led us here. But I mean, more, longer, love to see it. Or Sting, write the book, honey. I want to read it. I want to read the tell all, girl, and it doesn't have to tell all, but tell me more. I would just love to know. But this has been a long one. Thank you for sticking around with us, kicking with us. Please tell us all the things you want to tell us about Sting and how much he affected your life, how thrilled you were to see him come back to Survivor Series. I mean, what a freaking thrill. And there'll be more Sting content coming
Oh,
because
there
I
will
can't
be
get
more
enough.
Sting content coming, that's for sure.
I have fallen madly in love and it's really ridiculous. But
Good,
thank
I'm
you all
glad.
so much for joining us wherever you find us. We love kikiing with all of you and we're sending you all the best. And we'll see you on the next one.
Love to see it. Bye.
Bye.